Michael Sheen joins us now. Michael, thank you so much for coming to talk about this. I want to start by playing devil's advocate with you and assume a position of not being a fan of yours, which I am, and you're a very powerful advocate for many issues, and I completely support you on all of them. There are people going to be watching this saying, why should I care about Syria? There are so many important things to worry about on my doorstep. And they're going to say, why should I care what an actor has to say about all this? You've heard this argument. What's your answer?
Well, in terms of the actor thing, they'd be absolutely right. Why should they listen to an actor? You just have to listen and decide whether you agree or not. I get a privileged position of being able to at least provide some kind of a platform. I'm here, sitting with you. I wouldn't be if I wasn't an actor. So I try to do the very least that I can do. There's no easy answers, there's no easy solutions, there are difficult choices to be made. But I think if we lose sight of the connection to real people going through real things, then no matter what the choices we make, they're not going to be based on the right elements, you know.
It's such a good point, that idea of the huge numbers and therefore losing sight of actually the effect on individual children. And sometimes a single image can kind of sum up the crisis, can't we? We saw the desperate plight, you know, on the beaches with little Aylan Kurdi's body. And then over the last couple of days, we've seen this image of a little baby being washed by its mother in a puddle. You know, this is a family who are trying to flee conflict, trying to make a better life for their children, and they can't get out of Greece. They're trying to, you know, make their way to a better life, and they're washing a newborn baby at enormous risk of infection, you know, in dirty puddle water.
Exactly. And when you ask, you know, why should people care about it, you know, when there's so much, you know, that needs attending to in our own country, you're absolutely right. And one of the reasons why people should care, I think, is because the more that we support the work that's going on in the camps and the informal settlements that I went to visit, the more confident these children can become, the less traumatized they are, the more we can support them with education, the less likelihood there is that they feel they need to come across to Europe. You know, the people who are concerned about the migrants and the refugees coming across, if we support the work that's going on there, what we want is a generation of children not to be lost and to be able to go back into Syria if, God willing, you know, the political solution is there. We want the children who go back and become the generation to rebuild Syria to be an educated one and ones that aren't traumatized, you know. That's
See, there is a sense, isn't there, I think, in Britain, that all these people want to come here, sponge off our benefit system, have the easy life and so on. You've been at the sharp end of the fallout of this appalling 5-year war in Syria. When you spoke to them, did you get a real sense that most would actually love to just go home, but they can't?
The only thing I heard from every single person that I spoke to, whether it was a child or an adult, was that they wanted to go back to Syria. They wanted to go home. I was in a classroom with children who I said, what do you miss most about your home? And they said, we miss the air, we miss the water, we miss our families, our homes. I spoke to one little boy, Majid, who now has to work. He's only 12 years old. He's using a pickaxe to knock up gravel for other people to use in their homes. He's spending 8 hours out in the fields in the summer picking vegetables. And I said to him, what do you miss most about, you know, home? And he said, my father. The reason why he has to work is because his father is dead. His father's gone. And so he's the sole breadwinner for a family of 9. Wow. And he's 12 years old. And when you ask these people what they want, they say they want to go home. That's all they want to do. So the more we can support them, when the opportunity comes for them to go back, we'll have a whole generation, not lost, but who can go back and rebuild Syria. And that benefits all of us.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting talking to you about it, and as you say, you know, it's so raw for you because you've just come back, and seeing all the pictures is devastating. And I know you don't want people to forget, you know, about the children who are really suffering.
Can I ask just one last thing? I mean, do you have a view about the politics of this? One of the really difficult parts of the Syria crisis is no one's really sure who we should be supporting or how we get to some resolution. You've been on the ground. What's your sense?
Well, it's now the deadliest and most complex conflict of our time. It's the biggest humanitarian crisis since World War II. And part of the problem is that so many threads converge on this conflict in Syria. It started as protesters against a sort of brutal regime that got pumped up into because of sectarian divisions within the country, ancient resentments that are there. Then it starts being affected by the countries outside who start having proxy wars within it. And of course, always what happens is that the people themselves are the greatest victims, and the children who are the most vulnerable always are the sufferers. This is a children's crisis now.
Yeah. Well, one of the ironies, of course, is that we're supposed to be backing the Kurds in Syria, but of course it's the Kurds or the protest group that's blamed for the attack in Ankara.
Right,
I mean, it's unbelievably
it's so
complex,
complicated, yeah.
Michael Sheen, thank you very much indeed.
Great to see you. Thanks for coming in.